So today, I got pulled over. I take my son every day to Fowlerville, where he works at Christian Resource International, and I let him drive. He's getting experience behind the wheel, and he's about to get his license, and I'm actually driving his car right now. And every day, we drive, and I'm sure he probably can't stand me nagging at him, giving him instruction, changing lanes, what to look for, possible scenarios that can happen in life, and of course, for a kid that's in his teens, his late teens, that could possibly be annoying every time you hop in the car with your parent and then they're just yapping, telling you about things that aren't happening, that could happen, that may happen, and all this stuff, and you're trying to focus and whatever. And it's interesting, because it could be annoying to the individual, but also as a parent, it's not coming out of a point where my goal is annoyance. It's literally life. Like, I'm thinking, I want to preserve your life. Now, the ironic thing is I drop them off, and literally, I get less than a mile away, and all of a sudden, I see the red lights behind me. Police officer pulls me over. He says I was going, 40 into 25, 15 miles over the speed limit, right? And I have to make a decision at this moment, right? And we see this even in our country. Like, you have to make a decision when you are confronted with basically something you've done wrong. You have to make a decision in life when someone is either correcting or giving instruction that has authority in the situation. And really, when we look at the Psalms and the Proverbs, it's calling us to hear the voice of wisdom, to hear instruction, to heed instruction, to obey instruction, because it's life to you. One of the decisions I had to make is I have a firearm in my car and a concealed carry. I had to make a decision how I respond and how I act in this moment of correction. So what I did is I placed my hands carefully like this, and as he, after he told me that I was speeding, I said, well, before we get started, I need to tell you that I have a firearm in the car, and then I have a concealed carry. I want to have this relationship and this moment to go well. And he's a younger guy, and almost you felt like he was maybe a little nervous, but then he said, I really appreciate you telling me this, and I want him to know that in this moment that I'm going to be compliant, and that I'm not going to try to agitate and escalate the moment. And so he comes back and he just says, hey, I'm going to give you a warning. You really need to watch your speed. I know that when you come through here, you don't see the speed limit until here, but really watch your speed. And so I say thank you. I'm thankful, right? This thing went off and there's no ticket. But also, it started to make me think about why was he pulling me over, right? And why may he be nervous about this situation or the circumstance? And well, one of the things he's pulling over because he has a duty to kind of protect civilization, because he knows that the evil of men can actually destroy and injure others and destroy life. It really began to make me think about how we may approach God's law, right? God has authority. And our natural inclination in this world is to, do what we want in life. I remember, many times I'll drive down the road and my wife will be like, there's a police officer there. Okay, that's right. And so slow down. That's like their presence makes you slow down because of the threat of punishment, right? And so authority and law are very good, and they're intended to preserve life. If you were to look at Psalm 19, verse 7, it says that the law of the Lord is perfect, right? Or meaning it's just, it's perfect, it's good, and it's refreshing to the soul. In Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 through 2, it talks about how the blessed man delights in the law of the Lord, and he meditates it day and night. Why? Because the law is actually good. Without law, there would be chaos. There would be chaos if we didn't have police in the streets. And really, their presence is not a hindrance to society. It actually enforces laws that are life-giving to society. If there was no speed limit, man, could you imagine how many people would just have car accidents and wrecks? And when you remove people that enforce the law, that remind us of the way we should go, you see what happens is chaos. Cities burning down, crime increases, evil becomes rampant. And so it's interesting because we are a generation that really despises authority and wants to do what is right in their own eyes. I'm going to give you 4 quick reasons of why we should love God's law. The first one, Romans 3 verse 20, the second half of verse 20, is that the law of God, it reveals our sin, right? The cop pulled me over and revealed, you need to slow down. I guarantee you tomorrow when I drive my son, I'm going to go 25. And so it reveals our sin. It reveals our sin. The law of God reveals our sin. And it's important because when you look at Romans 3, verse 20, it's clear. It reveals your sin, but it does not declare you righteous. That's what Romans 3:20 says. You're not made holy because of the law, but also it just exposes the areas that you're wayward. Why? So you can correct it. Why? So you can live, right? The second thing is that God's law reveals God himself to us. And you see that in Romans chapter 3, verse 21, the second half of verse 21. The third thing is that God's law reveals how to express gratitude towards him. You know, God's laws reveals to us how we should express gratitude towards him. So I think of Psalm 119, verse 7, where he says, I will praise you with an upright heart and learn your righteous laws or righteous decrees. And the fourth and final thing is that God's law restrains sin. You know, it's without these laws, chaos would ensue. God gave his law through, even just in a practical sense, when God gave his law to Israel, it was in the formation of them as a country. He was giving laws of how they should function, how society should be governed. What is moral? What is amoral? What is just? What is unjust? How should you treat those that are guests or those that are in need? How should you treat the poor? How should you treat the alien? God's laws are practical for our life. Practical living, right? When you think of how you should live, God's laws, and what the Word of God actually says, you know, you look at Ephesians, how it talks about how those that are husbands, how to treat your wives, or wives, how to treat your husbands, how to raise your kids. It's practical. It's practical stuff, and it's difficult for us because we, in our fallen and sinful nature, tend to want to ride without a seatbelt. But really, God's laws are what governs the heavens and the earth, and it's life-giving to us. So I just want to encourage you today to love the law of God, the Word of God. Love his ways in his direction for your life. Like the psalmist says, the proverb says, my son, lend me your ear. It's life to you. God bless you, man and woman of God. Dig in the Word of God. We love you, and have a great day. Don't get pulled over.